What do you think His will is, friends? I think that it is that we attain perfect union with Him. I tell you, it hurts me intensely to write about this, because I see how far from perfection I am for myself, and the fault is all my own. God is under no obligation to bestow great gifts to motivate us. It isn't enough that He has offered us His Son to show us the way. Do not think that this is a matter of being so aligned with the will of God that if my father or my daughter die, I don't grieve, or that if trials or illnesses come up, I suffer them cheerfully. A positive attitude is a good thing, and sometimes we have no choice, and so we make a virtue out of necessity. The philosophers did this by making the most of their wisdom. On the spiritual path, the Beloved asks only two things of us: that we love Him and that we love each other. This is all we have to strive for. If we do these perfectly, we are doing His will, and so we will be united with Him. But we are far from being able to do the things we ought to do for such a great God. May it please His Majesty to give us the grace to desire to do whatever is necessary to reach a state that is, in fact, our power to reach. In my opinion, the most reliable sign that we are following both of these teachings is that we are loving each other. Although we might have some clear indications that we are loving God, we can't be sure that we really are, but it is obvious whether or not we are loving each other. Be assured that the more progress you make in loving your neighbor, the greater will be your love for God. His Majesty loves us so much that He repays us for loving our neighbor by increasing our love for Him in 1,000 ways. I cannot doubt this. It is important that we walk this path of love mindfully. If we practice love to perfection, we will have done all that there is to do. Because human nature is flawed, I don't believe that we could ever achieve perfect love for our neighbor unless the love that blossoms is rooted in God. Since this path is so important, friends, let's try to understand ourselves better, even in the smallest ways, and be discriminating about all the big plans that sometimes swarm in our minds during prayer when we think of all the wonders we will do for love of our neighbors, or even for that one identified soul we are going to charge forth and save. If our actions later are not in harmony with these ideas, why believe that we could ever bring them to fruition? The same thing is true for humility and all other virtues. The spirit of evil is crafty. If it thinks that it can trick us into believing that we have a single virtue that we do not in fact have, it will run around hell 1,000 times to do so. And it would be correct in assuming that this delusion would do us harm. Imaginary virtues are always accompanied by a certain arrogance. The virtues God gives us are unencumbered by pride. It amuses me sometimes to see certain souls who, when they are in prayer, profess that they would be gladly humiliated and suffer public shame for the sake of God, and then afterwards try to hide the tiniest fault. Or if they are accused of doing something bad, which they haven't done, God save us. Anyone who cannot bear trials like these should be especially careful to ignore the grand resolutions she conjures up for herself in prayer. Her determination does not rise authentically from the will, but rather is an artifact of the imagination. This is the most fertile place for the spirit of evil to cultivate its tricks and deceptions. For those of us who aren't sure of the respective functions of our different faculties, or are ignorant of many other interior matters, this can be a serious problem. Oh, friends, I can clearly see how important love of your neighbor is to some of you, and how others of you just don't seem to care. If only you could understand how vital this virtue is to all of us, you wouldn't engage in any other study. Sometimes I observe people so diligently trying to orchestrate whatever state of prayer they're in that they become peevish about it. They don't dare to move or let their minds be stirred for fear of jeopardizing the slightest degree of devotion or delight. It makes me realize how little they understand of the path to union. They think the whole thing is about rapture. But no, friends, no. What the Beloved wants from us is action. What he wants is that if one of your friends is sick, you take care of her. Don't worry about interrupting your devotional practice. Have compassion. If she is in pain, you feel it too. If necessary, you fast so she can eat. This is not a matter of indulging an individual. You do it because you know it is your Beloved's desire. This is true union with his will. What he wants is for you to be much happier hearing someone else praised than you would be to receive a compliment yourself. If you have humility, this is easy. It is a great thing to be glad when your friends' virtues are celebrated. And when you see a fault in another, it is good to be as sorry as if it were your own, and to make an effort to conceal it. May it please the Beloved that we never fail to love each other, because if we do, we are lost. If we succeed in loving each other, I tell you, we will attain union with Him. Never cease striving for this. Maybe you have had some gratifying experiences that have awakened some devotion in your heart so that you believe you have reached this state. Maybe in the prayer of quiet, you achieved moments of sweet suspension. People often assume that this means they have reached their goal. But believe me, if you are not loving your neighbor, you have not attained union. Beseech our Beloved to give you the capacity for perfect love. Allow His Majesty to work freely in you. If you strive to do whatever you can about this love, He will give you more than you can even desire. Urge yourself to respond to the needs of your friends, even if this means forfeiting your own rights. No matter how much your nature may resist, forget your own good for their sake. When the occasion arises, try to take up some burden to relieve your neighbor of it. Don't think that this is the path of convenience, or that you will find everything done for you. Look at the price our beloved spouse paid for his love. He died an agonizing death on the cross so that we could be free from dying.